All right. So we'll start. Okay. Hari Om and Namaste. My pranams to all the Atma Jyotis, the divine light of the self. So today we have a super wonderful story. This is a story of sage Agastya Muni. I'm sure most of you have heard of his name, no? Before Agastya Muni. So there is a lot of legends associated with Agastya Muni, but there are too many, so we can't take all those. Let us see what all we can try for today. Almost whatever we can, we'll finish today. Okay. So let us see. Before that, I want you all to know. Yeah, just a minute. So my pranams to Sadguru Sri Narasimha Prabhuji, our spiritual mentor and guide. Okay. Now let us understand how to understand the Puranas is what we have to understand first. Okay. Because we have all been hearing stories all the time about all these devas and devatas and demons, and how the fight of good versus evil is always happening, no? But apart from the story itself, there's a lot of things that we have to understand. Let us see what that is. All right. So, number one, there is a story itself. The story of what? Usually it is Asuras. Asuras are also called as Danavas. They're also known as Rakshasas, or in English we call them demons. And what do they represent? They represent Adharma. Adharma means they represent the bad things, the negative things, the evil things. All right. That is they are always the villains are the main focus of the story. And they always do something to whom? To the Devas. Devas are also called the Suras, or in English we call them angels. And in our Indian culture, Devas are the like Varna, Indra, Agni, and all these. There are forces of nature. Okay, they are called as the Devas, and they always represent Dharma. That means they always represent the order in the whole cosmos. So there's always a tug of war between the Asuras and the Suras, or the Devas and the Rakshasas, isn't it? In our stories, Puranas. So what happens when such a thing happens? Always the god comes to rescue the devas from the Danavas, isn't it? So either the god comes or the guru comes or the god sends a sage. Why? Because God is supposed to be all powerful, and the sages, they have so much tapas shakti, they have got so many powers that they have the power to overcome the evil with their powers and establish goodness again. That means the cosmic order is restored, the dharma is restored by the god or the guru or the sage or the rishi, isn't it? So this is how our typical story in the Puranas, this is how it goes. But this is the story is very fascinating. Of course, we all love to listen to stories. But how does it, how can we apply it in a more immediate manner? How will it help us how to understand the story? For example, in terms of the environment, like in our world, how does it? How can we look at it? So asuras or danavas, we can think of them as the natural or man-made calamities in life. For example, to take a very recent example, we have been hearing about how the pollution in Delhi is so much, the air pollution in Delhi is so much that it's affecting man, it's affecting people. They have all lung problems, breathing problems, chest problems, everything they are getting because of high pollution, isn't it? It is a man-made calamity. How? Because of too many vehicles on the road and too much less space, the density of vehicles is more, and so the pollution is more, isn't it? That is a man-made calamity. The beautiful environment, the good oxygen supply that you need to have, we are not getting, isn't it? It's a man-made calamity. So that is a imbalance in nature. That's an imbalance in nature. How is it overcome? What is it affecting? It is affecting the forces of nature. It's affecting the healthy content of oxygen is not there in the environment. So these forces of nature are very important. Water, air, space, everything, earth, everything has to be in a good balanced manner for the world to be functioning properly, isn't it? The forces of nature are usually represented by the devas in our Puranas, right? So what is happening? These man-made calamities are affecting our forces of nature, making it difficult for man to live on earth. Burning of forests, that is affecting the force of nature. Polluting water, that is a force of nature they are affecting. These are all man-made calamities. Or even earthquakes and tsunamis and all, they are natural calamities. Again, they upset the balance of nature in the world, which gives a lot of trouble to human beings, isn't it? So what happens? Who is the guru or the god who comes in between to take care of it? The regulatory authority. For example, the NGOs or the government authorities, the ministries, they come in and step in. Like, for example, in Delhi, to take the air pollution issue, they said, okay, odd and even days. Odd days only these vehicles will run. Even days only these vehicles will run. They try to reduce the number of vehicles on the road and bring down the pollution, isn't it? So what happens when that happens? The disasters come under control and balance is restored. This is how these stories can be taken for our benefit. And in society also, the Danavas are the antisocial elements who cause unrest and chaos, criminals, all sorts of criminal activities, or even people who don't follow the law. We are also antisocial elements. If we don't follow the rules and regulations of the society, we are also antisocial elements. So law-abiding citizens are being they will be affected by these antisocial elements, isn't it? So it affects an orderly society. Again, enforcement of discipline comes from the authorities like the police, the justice, the law enforcement people. They come into the picture, and discipline is enforced, and law and order is maintained. So this is another way we can look at. We can apply this Danavas and Devas and all these people into our lives. Ultimately, we have to apply all these stories for ourselves. This is most important. What is the evil that we have in ourselves? It could be my bad habits. It could be my negative thoughts and actions and behaviors. Feeling low, feeling selfish, feeling depressed, feeling angry all the time, feeling greedy. All these are bad habits which affect. They are like the asuras or the demonic qualities in me. Hmm? And what happens because of these bad habits? The good habits, my good thoughts, my positive energy, everything is affected. Because of my bad energy, the good energies in me are affected, isn't it? So what should I do? The tapas, the god or the guru comes in the picture. That means I have to discipline myself. I have to learn how to control my negativity. I have to learn how to discipline my thoughts, my actions, my speech, everything. And so I have to train under a master or a guru. Then what happens? My good qualities will come to the fore, my bad qualities will go down. Therefore, I shall experience success and peace and happiness and prosperity. So, in this broad manner, let us look at all the stories we listen to in future with this background in mind. All right. So, let us see how we can apply all this for this Agastya Muni story for today. All right. So, Agastya Muni. Agastya Muni was a very short sage, and he lived. His timeline has been fixed for 5,000 to 4,000 years before Christ. That is almost some 7,000 years ago. This sage supposed to have come down on earth. And Agastya Muni is also called as the Kuru Muni. Kuru means short, small, dwarfish. He's not actually a dwarf, but very short Muni. That is in Tamil Nadu, he's called as the Kuru Muni. And legend has it that Agastya was born, he was direct blessing from Lord Shiva. Agastya was born. All these Munis, he was also one of the Saptarishis. Agastya was also one of the Saptarishis. And what happened? Shiva, there was some disorder in the world as usual. And Shiva, the Lord said, okay, we need a superpower to come and restore order in the world. And Agastya was born directly in a pot by the grace of Lord Shiva. That's why Agastya is also called as Kumbha Sambhava. That means Kumbha means pot, Sambhava means he appeared in a pot. So Agastya is also called as Kumbha Sambhava. All right. But then he had an earthly father also. It was Sage Pulastya. He's also one of the Saptarushis. All these Saptarushis, the 7 chosen Rishis, their only agenda is to maintain law and order in the cosmos, not just Earth, but across all the planets, everywhere. They are supposed to maintain law and order and see that all these demonic forces do not take over. Okay, so the father was sage Pulastya, and his consort. Consort means wife, but for all these sages and all, it's not a simple wife, because the wife is also a very, very important partner in whatever divine, function they have to perform. The wife is also equally important. So the wife of Agastya was called as Lopamudra. Hmm? So Agastya is called as a very great Siddha. He is considered a very great Siddha. You know what a Siddha is? A Siddha is someone who is an adept, who is an expert in lots of things. In lots of things. A Siddha is an expert, and he is supposed to be immortal. A Siddha is an immortal being. And what was great about Agastya? He was considered to be the authority on astrology, astronomy, medicine, and Kriya Yoga. Do you know Kriya Yoga? Have you heard of Kriya Yoga? It's about, have you heard of the name Mahavatar Babaji? Under him, all the way up to Paramhamsa Yogananda, this Kriya Yoga lineage has come. It's a method of attaining self-realization, isn't it? So Kriya Yoga, this Agastya Muni is supposed to be the guru of Mahavatar Babaji, who gave Kriya Yoga to the world. Okay. And then Agastya Muni also developed the Tamil language. That is why for all the Tamilians across the world, sage Agastya is a very, very revered sage for the Tamilians. And a lot.
Mahavatar Babaji?
Mahavatar Babaji? He was Agastya was the guru of Mahavatar Babaji. Sometime we'll take up the story of Babaji also. But this Babaji was the guru of Paramahamsa Yogananda. Have you heard? Paramahamsa Yogananda is a great Kriya Yoga master. Okay. So, but the whole thing started with the system of Kriya Yoga was taught by Agastya Muni. Okay.
Ma'am, one more doubt, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, what is that concept, Lopamudra?
Consort means wife, partner, wife. Okay. And then Agastya Muni is also, he's said to be the author of the Rig Veda. You know, there are the 4 Vedas, Chatur Vedas. So he's supposed to have written the few chapters of the Rig Veda also. And another great work he's famous for is the Agastya Samhita, a collection of, teachings. So this is a general introduction profile of Agastya Muni, but now we shall go to the legend. Nice stories about Agastya Muni. We will, this is one more interesting thing. There is a star in the sky which is named after Agastya Muni. It is called star Agastya in Indian culture. It is a star Canopus. Star Canopus is called the Agastya Nakshatra in our culture. Okay. Now let's go to an interesting story associated with Agastya. Okay, there used to be a Rakshasa, of course. All the stories have to start with Rakshasa. This Rakshasa was called as Vrittasura. I think Prabhuji has told you the story of Dadichi Maharshi and how he gave the Vajrayudha to the Devatas to kill this Vrittasura. Okay. So this is Indra, which is Vajrayudha, and he was able to defeat this very powerful demon called Vrittasura through the Vajrayudha, the Vajra, the weapon of Indra. And then, but this was not the end of this demons, because this Vrittasura had many allies, many friends. One of them was called as Kalakeya. This Kalakeyas demon, after this Vrittasura was defeated, this Kalakeyas went and he gathered all the remaining demons and he hid himself under the Indian Ocean. Deep inside the oceans, he went and hid himself. So the Devatas didn't know how to defeat this Kalakeyas. So you know what they did? As usual, they went and begged Agastya Muni, please help us, save us from the demon Kalakeyas, because when nobody is watching, when we are all, when we are all very casual about it, these demons.
Ma'am, you are muted.
Now, now,
Okay, ma'am.
We
Ma'am, again you got muted.
Yes, ma'am. Now we can't hear you.
I'm unmuted now. Okay. So Agastya came, the Devas, they begged Agastya to save them from this demon, Kalakeyas.
Ma'am, you are muted.
No, no, ma'am. I'll keep a watch on it and I'm going to unmute myself. Okay.
Okay. Ma'am, you are muted again.
Yes. I don't know what's happening. I'll just tell the host not to mute me. In the meanwhile, let us continue the story. Okay, where were we? Okay. So what happened? Agastya, he started coming down to the Indian Ocean to defeat the Kalakeyas. Okay. When he was coming down, he was confronted with this Vindhya mountains. You know, Himalayas are in the north, and there is a range of mountains called the Vindhya mountains, just bordering Madhya Pradesh. Okay, it's actually right in the middle of the Indian, the geography of India. The Vindhya mountains. Yeah.
Western.
I'm not muted now. I'm not muted, right? You can hear me, right?
No, ma'am. I'm saying something. Are they Western Ghats, the Vindhya Mountains?
No, no, no. Vindhya, Western Ghats in the west. Vindhya mountains are across the center of India. They divide North India and South India, kind of. Okay. Madhya Pradesh, you know, they border Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. All right. So when Agastya was coming down from the north to the south to reach the Indian Ocean, he came across the Vindhya mountains. What happened? The Vindhyas, the Vindhya had heard that the Himalayas are very tall. Okay, there is no mountain more than higher than the Himalayas. So Vindhya said, I am no less, and I want to become as big as the Himalayas. And so the Vindhya started growing. It was becoming tall, 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 and tall, almost reaching the heavens. And the sun was almost getting blocked by by the tallness of the Vindhya, and the sun could not shine on the south of India. So Agastya knew this. So when Agastya came to the Vindhya mountain, the Vindhya said, "Oh, a great sage is coming," and he bowed down to Agastya to pay respect. Okay. Then Agastya said, "Hello, my dear, how are you? You've grown very tall. Nice, nice. Thank you. But you know what? I need to cross down to the south. And see, I'm so short. My legs are so short. So it will be very difficult for me to cross you if you are so tall. Okay. So become short, please, for my sake. Okay. You go down and be like that only till I cross you until I come back. I've got some work down south. I'll finish all my work and I'll come back and then you can go back to your size again. Okay. He said. And because he was a great sage, Vindhya said, of course, my lord, whatever you say. And he became short and he bowed. He came down to his original size and he bowed to the sage. So Agastya crossed the Vindhyas and smartly he never came back again. So Vindhya always said, whatever the height the Vindhya is now, it is the same height now. And the sun was happily, again, he was able to give light to the whole of South India. This is a legend associated with Agastya. Then what happened? The Kalakeyas demons, they were to be defeated, no? So Agastya came down to the Indian Ocean and you know what he did? He just drank all the waters of the Indian Ocean. He emptied, like how they, while cleaning the swimming pool, how they drain the water, no? Like Agastya drank the water. And because of that, the demons were out in the open and they were defeated by the Devatas. This is how Agastya was able to save the demons, defeat the demons, and also made the Vindhyas Can we have all the questions later? You remember all your questions, okay? Huh? Let's do that. And then what happens? This star, this Agastya Nakshatra, no, I told you, there's actually a star called Canopus. When it rises on the Indian Ocean, when it comes in a position on top of the Indian Ocean, it actually calms the water of the Indian Ocean. It's a fact. And then it is said that Agastya Muni, after crossing the Indian Ocean, he went to Southeast Asia and he established Sanatana Dharma. He established the Hindu religion, and the Vedic knowledge was spread to the south of India as well as to the other regions in Southeast Asia like Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Laos, Cambodia. And you know what? In all these places, there are temples for Agastya Muni. In these places, there are temples for Agastya Muni. Okay, let us see what next. Another nice legend about Agastya. Okay. On another occasion, now remember, Agastya Muni is in the south of the India. That is, he has established himself in the south. Okay. Then one day he was walking along. Then he came across a ghost hanging upside down on a tree. And this ghost stopped Agastya. And the ghost said, "Hey, wait, don't move." Agastya said, "Why are you stopping me? I'm going by myself." The ghost said, "I am not I am not an ordinary ghost. I am your ancestor." Then Agastya said, "Why are you hanging on a tree?" So the ghost said, "Look, you are not married. You don't have children. That's why there is nobody to do our rites. You are not married. You don't have children. So you are not even doing our final rites for us. So we are still hanging here and there. So unless you do you do the rituals to send us to heaven, we'll be hanging around here only. So you need to get married," they told him. Okay, that is the culture that is our Sanatana Dharma culture. That every year we have to do some rites for our ancestors so that they are happy in heaven. For whatever reason, that is the culture. So what Agastya said, okay, he said, "I have to get married now. Whom to get married to?" Then he saw that because he was such a powerful sage, he could not marry any ordinary person. So you know what he did, Agastya, because he was a great sage, he gathered all the beautiful things from the forest, beautiful concepts from the forest, like the eyes of a deer. Borrowed means he borrowed the essence of all the beautiful things in the forest, like the mane of a horse and the beautiful eyes of a deer and the beautiful walk of a peacock, or all the beautiful things, and he made a lovely baby, lovely little girl, and he presented the baby to the king of Vidarbha. The king of Vidarbha. This king did not have children. Okay, so he was waiting for God to bless him with a baby. And so Agastya presented this baby girl to Vidarbha king, and he said, "Look, when she grows up, I have to marry this girl." And that was a condition. With that condition, he gave the girl to Vidarbha king. But when the time came, when the girl was big enough, Agastya went and said, "Okay, now I want to marry your daughter." And she was named as Lopamudra. "I want to marry your daughter." This Vidarbha king was a bit, doubtful. "Hey, my lovely child, my lovely beautiful girl, she has grown up in a palace. She's used to so many comforts. What will this sage give her comfort? She will take her to the hermitage. She will not have anything to eat. She will not have good clothes. She will not have a good bed. She won't have servants." He got very worried. But he was scared of the sage also. So he was in a great dilemma. "Arey Bapre, what shall I do? Now I don't want my girl to go there, but I'm scared of the sage." So seeing this girl, Lopamudra, she was a very brilliant child. Okay, she was not an ordinary child, no. She understood her father's dilemma and she said, "No, father, I will marry the great sage." She said she volunteered to marry Agastya, and they got married. Agastya married this Lopamudra. And because she was the wife, she became the wife of a sage. She removed all her princely, she sacrificed all her princely comforts, and she became a ordinary wife. And then, what was the purpose of Agastya marrying Lopamudra? It was to have a child, isn't it? So Agastya said, "Okay, now it is time to have progeny. Progeny means children. And we have to please our ancestors, so let us have children. But you know what? This Lokamudra, she was very smart, okay? She said, after having married him, she said, look, I'm a princess. I cannot live like a hermit. So if you give me the comfort of the palace, then only we can have children, she said. Very smartly, she said, only if I have the comforts of a palace, I can agree to have children. So again, Agastya had to do some plan. What to do now? I have to have money. Okay, yeah, which is very true. She's a princess. I have to give her the comforts, but he was a sage. So you know what? He went to a king and he said, look, I need some money. I want to borrow money from you. But the king said, here is my statement of accounts. All the monies are going into welfare activities. I don't have any extra money to give you, my dear sage, he said. Then Agastya went to one more king. That king also said, I have money, but just enough to take care of my own needs for my own people. I don't have money to spare. One more king, same story. All of them were very dharmic kings. They didn't have too much. They didn't have excess wealth. All the wealth, all the taxes they collected from the people, it went back to the people. They were all very good kings, so they did not have enough money. So, but Agastya wanted money. Then all these kings gave him an idea. They said, there are two demons, okay? There are two demons, and their name is Ilvala and Vatapi. Ilvala and Vatapi. These demons, what they were doing, this Ilvala, once he meditated, he did a lot of tapas, and he asked a boon that he wants to have a son who is as powerful as Indra. But of course, he did not get that boon because that will be very disastrous, right? If you give a demon a powerful son, then disaster only. So he did not get a son. So he said, I will take revenge on all the good people on earth, all the good kings, all the Brahmins, all the sages. I'm going to kill them. So this Invala and his brother Vatapi, what they used to do, they destroyed all the good people on earth, and they used to loot the wealth of the kings. And how did they do it? They had a very interesting way of doing it. This Vatapi, he was all these demons have got all sorts of magical powers. So this Vatapi used to take the form of a goat, goat. And this Invala used to cook that goat and then invite these people for a grand feast. He used to invite the kings and the sages for a grand feast and used to feed the goat meat to them. And after they had eaten, Invala used to call out, Vatapi, come out. And from the tummy of the sages and the kings and all these, that Vatapi would come out of their tummy and kill them. And then these Ilvala and Vatapi used to loot their treasure. That was what they were doing. So Agastya came to know and he had a plan ready to deal with this, the Ilvala and Vatapi. So Agastya also went for food, went to their cave for a good meal one day. So as usual, Vatapi became a goat and he was cooked by Ilvala and he was fed to Agastya. And you know what Agastya did? Because he knew the trick of these demons, Agastya just, after eating, he gave a nice burp. He gave a nice belch and he put his hand on his tummy and said, Vatapi jirno bhava. May Vatapi be digested. He said, by the power of his tapas, he digested that Vatapi whom he had eaten in the form of a goat. So this Invala is calling, Vatapi, come out. Vatapi, come out. Where Vatapi will come out? Because already digested. Then Ilvala understood that now he is defeated by this great sage. And then he fell at the Agastya's feet and said, my lord, I'm very sorry. What do you want? So Agastya said, I want all the wealth that you have looted from all these people. So that is how his cave was full of all this wealth looted from the kings and the sages and all that. So Agastya got all his money and he went back to his wife, and then the Lopamudra was very happy and they had a son called Bridhasyu. Okay, that was how Agastya was able to release his ancestors from a ghostly existence. So, what is the meaning of all this? Why was Lokamutra making noise that she wants money? Because she wants, the big plan was to defeat this Ilvala and water. Whatever it is, no, there is always a cause and there's an effect. Whatever the sages and they do, there's always a reason behind what they do. The reason is Loka Kalyana, because society has to be freed from evil. They do all sorts of natas, all sorts of stories go around, and then ultimately they defeat the evil forces in the world. Okay, one more legend of Agastya, and we are done. Okay, um, after some time, Lokamudra and Agastya were leading a happy life, but then there was a drought in the
What
country.
was
Drought.
their son's name?
Hmm?
What was their son's name?
Dridhastyu. 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 So there was once a drought in the whole of South India. There was no water at all, and people were parched. The animals were dying, and the greenery was lost, and there was a terrible famine. Terrible famine. What happened? So, as usual, Agastya was called upon to bring back water to the land. And what did Agastya do? He went to the boss. Straight away, he went to Lord Ishvara and he said, please give us some water in the south. We don't have water. So, what Ishvara did? He gave a little water in Agastya's Kamandala. They carry that vessel, Kamandala. He gave some Ganga water in the Kamandala. So Agastya brought this Kamandala water and he was wondering where I should. So Shiva had told him, this is the water. Wherever you spill, wherever you put this water, a river will flow from there. So Agastya took this water and he was sitting in meditation, thinking where I should put it. Just then a crow came and it sat on the Kamandala. And then the water spilled from the Kamandala. When the water spilled, Agastya got very wild. He wanted to curse the crow. Immediately, the crow revealed himself to be Lord Ganesha. He said, look, I know my father has given you Ganga to start another river down south. And I helped you spill the water in this spot because if I hadn't done that, there was a demon called Surapaduman who was waiting to steal this Ganga and go away. Again, all your tapas would have been gone waste. That's why I came in the form of a crow and I spilled your water. That is what Ganesha said. So Agastya was very happy. And this water which flowed from the Kamandala of Agastya Muni is now the Kaveri river. And the spot where the Kaveri river starts is called Talakaveri. It is in Kurg. Okay, that is the birthplace of the Kaveri river. So thanks to Agastya Muni, the Kaveri river flows in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Okay, this is the legend of Agastya Muni. And Agastya Muni is famous for other things like who is this Lord? This is Lord Hayagriva. Lord Hayagriva, who is none other, who is also an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And Hayagriva taught the Lalita Sahasranama to Agastya Muni. So you have heard, no, in our houses, Lalita Sahasranama being chanted. This was given by Agastya Muni. Okay. Not only that, Agastya Muni has also given us the Aditya Hridaya Stotra. This Aditya Hridaya Stotra came to him from the Lord Sun himself, the Sun God himself. And it was Agastya shared this stotra with Lord Rama. Okay. And Lord Rama, because of this stotra, he got full power to defeat Ravana, it is said. So, whoever chants the Aditya Hridaya Stotra will become very powerful and they'll get the energy of the sun himself, it is said. Aditya Hridaya Stotra. Apart from this, Agastya Muni is famous for his Nadi Shastra. Agastya Nadi. You know what is Agastya Nadi? If you go to Tamil Nadu, Agastya Nadi is very famous. These are very ancient scriptures on the Talegari, those old scriptures on which each and every human being on earth, his future and past has been written. It is said. Agastya has written the past and the future of each and every human being on earth in the Agastya Nadi. And it is said. And there are many astrologers in Tamil Nadu who are experts on reading this Agastya Nadi. So Nadi Shastra is very famous in Tamil Nadu. That too, Agastya Nadi is very famous in Tamil Nadu. So these are some of the great things that are associated with Agastya Muni. And there is a hill called Agastyar Kudam near Trivandrum. That is where Agastya and Lopamudra are supposed to be still there in an astral form. The body has gone, but their spirits are still living there, and there is even a temple for Agastya Muni in Agastyar Kudam near Trivandrum. See, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and the border of these coastal areas, this Agastya Muni's influence is a lot of influence. Agastya can be seen. Okay, so this is the legend of Agastya. There are many more things, but for now, let us finish with this right now. Okay, now questions. Tell me. You are asking so many questions now.
Ma'am?
Yeah, tell, Namit.
Ma'am, the Agastya had a wife, right? Then
Lopamudra.
Lopamudra. Why didn't Agastya ask? Why didn't Agastya go and stay in Lopamudra's palace, ma'am?
He can't, no, because he cannot live in the palace and do all his practices like tapas and all that. He's a sage. He's a hermit. He cannot go and live in his father-in-law's house. No. Will you do that? Don't know. No. He was used to living in the forest, and all his work was in the forest, and he has a hermitage. So he took, like all men, he took his wife to his house.
Ma'am, I have 3 doubts.
Huh?
Ma'am, I have 3 doubts.
Ask.
Ma'am, I noted down in a book
Okay.
because I would have forgot.
Correct. Good boy.
How did the water come back when Agastya drank the water of the Indian Ocean? Ma'am, how did the water come back?
Yes. That is when all this Kaveri river story also is associated with that only. See, the water gets replenished by rains and all that, and you should not take it very literally. Okay. See, first only we discussed the story is a story, but we have to take it in terms of how the environment pollution. See, now if we say the oceans we have heard stories of how oceans are being polluted by a lot of plastic, how the fish are dying. No. So what do we do to clean the oceans? Clean the plastic and make awareness drives in people not to litter in the, near the oceans and the water bodies. That is the kind of thing. That's all. Drinking the ocean means he cleaned the ocean so that, the evil, all the dirt could come out or something like that. And it's also said because of him, the river Ganga, Ganga became, actually Kaveri is called as Dakshina Gange. You know that? Kaveri is called as Dakshina Gange because she is the one, the Kaveri river is the one who has made the area green, and the river flows into the Indian Ocean. Tell.
Ma'am, why did Agastya Muni not give the remaining money to the kings? Because the Asuras, no, ma'am, you told, I don't remember their names.
Correct.
Ma'am,
Ilvala and Vatapi. Ilvala and Vatapi.
Ma'am, Ilvala and Vatapi had stole from so many kings, no, ma'am. The money he didn't need so many kings for
He
his
must
wife.
have given. He must have given. He would have taken only whatever is needed, and the whole idea was to bring back the money and give it to the kings. Actually,
Kings were dead now. Kings were dead now.
Kings were dead, but their kingdoms were there. No, some other king will be there. No. The money has to go back to the people. That's the idea.
Ma'am, the kings were not dead, ma'am. Then how could they tell Agastya Muni that Vata?
Not all the kings were dead, no, Harsh. Some were still alive. We should assume that. He was told by others that, there are these two demons are doing such things. Like
Ma'am,
that.
how was Dwapara Yuga for only 2000 years?
Dwapara Yuga was 2000 years.
Ma'am, because Rama was during 7,000 years back during the end of
Yeah,
Treta Yuga.
I get. Agastya is not an ordinary man who was born in the to a human mother. No, he was the son of Brahma or Ishvara himself. So for them, all this time will not apply. They are Saptarishis, one of the Saptarishis. They are always there. They're always there. They're not like that who are born and who die. Okay? Whenever there is a need, they'll come to help man, to help us. Whenever there's a need at any yoga, at any point of time, they'll come and help us.
What is
Not that.
Agastya Rishi's son's name?
Dridhasyu. 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 He was also a great sage.
Ma'am, not that, ma'am. Usually yugas are more than 10,000, 20,000 years, no, ma'am. Why was Dwapara Yuga only 2,000 years? Because
I don't know,
Krishna.
Baba. Who told you? Who told you Dwapara Yuga was 2000 years?
Ma'am, when Rama was 7,000 years before during the end of Treta Yuga, then Krishna was 5,000 years back during the end of Dwapara Yuga.
Okay, you cannot, these timelines are all, there's a Christian calendar and all, we cannot fit our stories into that calendar, okay? And when I said that, when it is said in this thing that Agastya would belong to the 5000, 4000 BC and all, it means his works were discovered during that age. All this Agastya Samhita and the Rig Veda and Nadis, everything was discovered then. That is the meaning. Okay.
Ravana's father, Visharva, is also Pulastya Rishi's son, no, ma'am?
Yes, they are all connected somehow. Correct.
Rishis and Asuras.
Huh? Tell properly. I can't hear. What are you saying?
Rishis and Asuras are connected, no?
See, in the very beginning, Diti and Aditi, the two wives of Kashyapa. Kashyapa Rishi was the first Rishi, okay? His wife, he had two wives, Diti and Aditi. Aditi's children were all Devas. Diti's children were all Rakshasas. So, yes, they are brothers. That means good and evil are always parallelly, they go, right? Good and evil always go parallelly. Within us also we have good and evil. They are brothers only, brothers and sisters. Who is more powerful at any point of time? Depends on us. Whether I will let my negative qualities become powerful, or with discipline will I allow my positive qualities to become powerful. That is the whole story of Devas and Danavas, Asuras. They are brothers only. You can say they always coexist. You understand the term coexist? That means they are always together.
Living together.
Live
together.
Yeah, they are together. Always they are together. But it depends on us who is more powerful. That's the idea. That is why I told you in the very beginning how to understand these stories. Okay, Harsh, one more question.
Ma'am, in stories we always hear that Devas and Asuras are enemies, ma'am, but they are connected because even in our mind the bad thoughts are like Asuras and the good thoughts are like Devas or Suras.
Exactly. You got the point. That is what we have to understand, Harsh. Exactly what I was trying to tell you all. Very good. Very good. Okay, so right, we'll say a prayer and for now we'll say a prayer. Okay, what's the prayer? Come on, what's the prayer?
Lokaha samastaha.
Yes. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Tat Krishnarpanamastu.
Ma'am, what does you were telling Krishnarpanamastu? What does that mean?
Krishnarpanamastu means whatever we have done, whatever we have learned, we'll all offer it to Krishna. That is, whatever good things we have learned today, and whatever, see, I am telling you the story, but I want to say that I am not the one who's telling the story, it is Krishna who's telling the story. That is, let me not, because it's all the knowledge has come from Krishna, no? Or from God, isn't it? So we'll offer it to Krishna only, like that. Because if I hold on to the thought that I am the one, I am telling the story, I'll get two horns like this. I'll become very proud. So
Yeah,
whatever
right.
pride will come. So whatever we do, no, Namish, anything we do after all our work is done, at the end of the day, we have to say Krishnarpanamastu, meaning whatever the good things coming out of my action, I offer it to you, my God. And when we say that, we are protected from bad things also. Whatever negative things will might come, because Krishna will take care of it. That is the idea. But the main thing is not to have pride. Krishnarpanamastu. Arpana means offering.
Everybody only prays, no ma'am, to Krishna to protect them from negative thoughts. Ma'am, but then why was Krishna protected from negative thoughts? Because Yashoda and Nanda made so many pujas and all, no ma'am. Then we call them as we call he was only the puja was done to protect him from negative thoughts. Then
Because he had come down on earth. No, he has come down on earth. When anybody, even if a god comes down on earth, he is subject to all this. When he takes a human form, he is subject to all the negative forces. And the God comes down on earth in a human form just to give us stories and messages through his life. That's why Rama also went through so much trouble, though he was an avatar of Lord Vishnu, no? So just to teach us how to behave, how to be righteous, how to take care of parents, how to obey your parents. All that we learn from Rama's life, no? That is how. That is why they are born.
Ma'am, it is not like that the God is itself. He had came in the man form, so he should follow the man's rules. That's why it acted like this.
Exactly. He's also subject to all heat, cold, everything like man, because he's got a body of a man, human being. Correct?
Yeah,
Very
like
correct.
the snake, the Ashwa, the something.
Adishesha.
The Adishesha. But still,
Correct.
in the form of Lakshmana, in the war of Ramayana, Indrajit hit with his bana, but still he got injured.
Yes, because they have muscles and blood and eyes and ears and everything like humans only. So all the laws of nature will apply to a human body.
Yeah, even they have arrogance. For example, Balarama, he was like a god, but still he had arrogance and all.
Yes.
Because I know I'm good at Gada Yuddha and all.
Correct. Very correct. You're right.
Hari Om, ma'am.
Hari Om. Are we
Yeah,
done?
ma'am.
Hari Om. Shall we close for the day?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.